All right, so here we are.
Here we are. Introduce yourself.
I'm David Schneiderman, drinking coffee.
I am Debra Di Blasi, interviewing, I think. Tell where you are. Where are we now?
We're at Lake Forest College in the historic Glen Rowan House, a mansion across from the main college, where we put up guests who have come, and Debra has kindly come to visit the college. I'm the chair of the American Studies program here and an associate professor in the English department. I teach 20th century American and world literature and creative writing, and I'm a novelist and multimedia type of person.
And I want to apologize because I do not have on my persona today, my interview persona. Because
right.
I'm wearing my glasses, and my fan base will be very upset with the images in this video. How does that coffee taste?
It tastes a lot like the coffee I had with Marcel a number of years ago.
Okay, this interview is going to be very casual, obviously.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to ask you is, you got a new kid from China.
I do.
What is her name?
Her name is Athena Jean Neo Haramis Schneider.
Athena.
Yeah, Athena.
Okay, and talk about why you named her.
Well, my wife, who is part Greek, part German and part Puerto Rican.
I didn't realize that.
Greek-Rican, as we call her. She always enjoyed the name Athena, liked the name Athena, and when we met years ago, she said, hey, if we have a kid one day, could we name that daughter Athena? And I said, yeah, I like that name. Because I like names that are a little out of the ordinary, but not so strange as to be alienating to people at the same time. Hence why I enjoy my own name, Davis, which is not my birth name. I changed it when I was about 18 from another more mundane name.
What was your mundane name?
I can't reveal it. So, and I sort of switched personas and everything, because you would meet a lot of people with my old name, but you don't meet that many Davises.
Can I ask you what letter it began with?
The same.
It began with a D?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
You can guess that it's pretty. I didn't change very much, right? And I actually changed to appreciate this. It was David. I'll give it up.
I figured that. Yes.
I worked at the school newspaper at Penn State, where I met my wife, and one day, I also lived in a sort of house, a house on campus, a large mansion, and there were some new people in the house, and there was a list of the various people who were already there, and somebody mistyped my name, and instead of typing David, typed Davis, because the D and the S are next to each other on the keyboard.
Right.
I was busy with the newspaper, so I wasn't at home very often, and when I went back to the house, people started calling me Davis, the sort of new people who were living there, and it took me a while to figure out that this was all a typo. So on a whim, literally, like within a moment's thought, instead of changing that and correcting it, I decided to change my name everywhere else to Davis. So I went and typed in the paper the next day for my next story. I was the music reporter, Davis, and before long, if it's in print,
that's right.
If it is on there, it plays. And my name became Davis, sort of as a joke, and my friends would say, oh, hello, Davis. But within 3 weeks, it's if I had never had another name. And then I legally changed it in 1999.
So that was how many years after the initial mistake?
Maybe 4.
4 years.
So, and I'd already begun to publish things at that point.
4 years of living with an alias.
Yeah, living with an alias.
Interesting.
And I worked at the summer program in SUNY Binghamton, where I got my graduate degree, and everyone called me Davis, and I was on the books as Davis, but officially I was David. I got sick, and I had to go to the health center, and they wouldn't treat me because they didn't think I was the same person as the insurance card after all. And I realized, well, this could cause some problems, I suppose. Even though we're talking about one letter difference out of the 19 letters of my name.
Yeah, Di Blasi, everybody asked me, oh, you're Italian. And I said, no, that was my alimony from my first husband. Because,
oh, really?
Yeah, because, yes, we were young and poor.
Mm-hmm.
But, I didn't go back because I'd already started publishing it, and there was no point. And now I'm remarried, and although I love my husband's last name, although it's ordinary, I didn't change it.
Yeah, my wife kept her name, which I encouraged her to do, and the joke I always say is, you don't just get my name when we get married, you have to work on it for a few years first. So.
Does she want it?
No, and I don't want to give it to her. I mean, her name is Haramis, which is a great name that everyone says, Haramis, Harami, or something like that, all that type of stuff. But I love that name.
So wait a minute, your daughter now has how many names?
5. But officially she's Athena Schneider, but we just added all these other names to sort of...
confuse everyone.
Well, Jean was my mother-in-law who passed away, unfortunately, so it's Athena Jean, and my niece, who's about to be adopted from China, will also have Jean as her middle name. Neo was her Chinese name, Athena's.
Right.
So it means sort of elegant girl or European girl. It's a random name assigned by an office in the orphanage. It has no necessary connection to her, but it was her name. Then Haramis as sort of a middle name, and then Schneiderman.
But it will have a connection to her because
Yeah.
we actually live into our names.
I agree. Yeah,
And-
so I think
I
that
mean-
elegant she'll appreciate it. We changed it a little bit. It was really Ni, N-I, space O-U, and we made it N-I-O-U, which is what a lot of people do, that sort of have one less name, so it becomes one word.
Hyphenated,
Yeah.
right. Oh, she'll be pleased. So like I wrote you in the email, I think it's really interesting, all these daughters, these abandoned daughters
Yeah.
from China. And how many are there in the United States by now?
I want to say that there's close to 50,000, but I may be off on that number, total over the years.
I would guess it's more. You think?
I'm not so sure it's that many more, because it's only like 6,000 or 7,000 a year.
Oh,
And
is
it's only
it?
been going on for like 10 years or something like that.
Hmm. I just, like in Kansas City, there are so many Chinese
Yeah.
daughters. And like I said, they have a Chinese Daughters Day in the urban park there every year in the summer. And it's just packed with predominantly single women
Mhm.
with their Chinese daughters who are all growing up together in fairly well-to-do families and very independent women, which I think is interesting because you're talking about 20 years down the road,
Oh, sure.
what it's going to be like in terms of those girls' lives, and I think it's wonderful.
And what does it mean for the Chinese, where you have all these boys who can't marry?
That's
I think
right.
it means an immense military, is what I see happening.
Ah, that's an interesting,
And I mean, the Chinese are doing it
Problem.
deliberately because they have major population problems.
right.
And it's changing the sort of, when I was in China, we had a guide in Beijing from Inner Mongolia. And she was born right after the Cultural Revolution. Her parents were sent away, as part of Mao's policy to be re-educated in a cornfield somewhere. And when they returned to their town in Mongolia, they got married. They had a son, I believe, and then they had her, and the policy was in effect. So they paid 6 months of their salary as a fine in order to keep this girl. So basically, and the grandmother had wanted her to be aborted. I mean, there was all this kind
Right.
of family stuff that went in. But basically, they saved her life by not eating and not paying their rent or whatever they needed to do because they made some ridiculous amount, like 10 yuan a month,
Right.
which is nothing, which today is like 80 cents or something like that. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
I mean, I think, do they still have the policy of they do have the only
Yes, the
one-
ones they just reaffirmed it.
Well, see, they need to switch with Italy, which has a sub-zero.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, they're -2 population growth.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting Italians, you think of the Catholics are out there popping out babies,
Mhm.
but that's the Irish Catholics, right?
Yeah, I think this is
I love to throw out those stereotypes,
Yeah,
but
generalization.
I thought it was really interesting because they are actually now they want to pay $1,500 for someone to have a child.
I think, if we could just connect, the glut with the,
Yeah, and India,
Deficit.
Mexico, those two countries are really, India's one of the worst, I think, I just read in terms of their population growth.
they'll overtake China on the predictions
Yeah,
in
yeah.
X amount of years. But
Yeah.
I think it's changing a little bit. In the cities in China, I don't think the same preference for boys exists.
No, I don't think it does. And also, my understanding is that in the cities, as in Japan, and the young people don't
Yeah.
want to have kids because they're professionals.
Right.
They've been raised as
I think that's right.
princesses.
Mhm.
They really don't want to have to raise a kid. And there was a big, I don't know whether it was an article I just read recently in New Yorker or some magazine, one of the stacks, talking about what's going to happen in the future. In the countries, of course, you've got the people still, having babies.
Yeah, I think that's true. And the one-child policy, there is kind of the spoiled child effect that comes from that.
Exactly.
That's been written about in China.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. And these are the ones who don't want to have kids.
Right now, it's just become the year of the golden pig. The Chinese zodiac is, I think, 12 or 14 years, different animals. And the pig is the last animal before it recycles. And the pig is particularly lucky. But each Chinese year is affiliated with an element, earth, ash, water, whatever it is. And this year it's gold. So it's not just the year of the pig, it's the year of the golden pig. So it's very auspicious to have a child in this year. So there's a lot of
Interesting.
people trying to get pregnant. But I read a warning in the sort of English language propaganda newspaper when I was there saying, don't buy into this because the last time there was a lucky year, 5 or 6 years ago, there were so many kids that it's taxing social services. Like kids
Right.
can't get into kindergarten and there's just too many people.
Right.
So they're saying, you have to kind of put off some of these superstitions, the advice from the government.